Mr. Cat, a dear, super warm welcome back to the Bitcoin Infinity Show. Nice to have you here again.
Thank you, Knut.
Yes, you've stirred the pot a bit in the Bitcoin space like the last couple of days by first showing support for BIP-110 and then withdrawing that support. So that has got a lot of attention from both sides, and I know that a lot of people are very curious about this conversation and where this will lead, and what your rationale was for supporting and then for withdrawing your support. So we'll look into that. Where do you want to start this? Where do we want this conversation?
I think, the backstory of that we are sitting here on the podcast now is that the two of us had a long talk yesterday on the phone. And we, or at least I realized that, after that call, I watched Mechanic's latest video, and I think his approach, of being humble and just pretty brutally honest, that really resonated with me, and I think it's super important. I'm gonna just explain, because I consider it, I apologized on X, and there is a reason I apologized on X, of course. And the reason is that I think my support for BIP-110 was premature, it was emotional, and I should have taken more time to reflect and evaluate and learn more, basically. And the reason this happened was that I have been basically disconnected fully from the Bitcoin space for a year, the whole of 2025. After this stupid 5 years of fighting Craig Wright came to an end, I really kind of had the strong urge to take some time off, to put it that way. I had enough of Bitcoin conversations for a while. I just needed to focus on other things. And I have been focusing on stuff here in Norway. I started a podcast in Norway. I'm basically I'm not a public person, but I didn't do any efforts to hide my name or identity here in Norway. The reason for that, again, is, I got fully doxxed. Anyone who wants to find out who I am can easily do it after Craig and CoinGeek made sure of that. So when I came back after, being out of the Bitcoin bubble for a year, a lot had happened, as we all know. And the main thing being this decision of Bitcoin Core to merge Core version 30 with the uncapping of OP return. So when I came back, I was kind of mind blown to learn how this happened, in which way it happened, how arrogantly Core did it, despite obvious controversy. I had so many red flags popping up. I got emotional, and when I saw learned about BIP-110, it seemed like the type of response to what I consider total lack of principles from Core and irresponsibility. So it was very knee-jerk and emotional reaction from me to just almost blindly support it. But as I said, I came into this with not the most solid understanding of the whole dynamic. So what I saw as the main red flags from Core was, the technical hand waving, which I got tons of when I started just asking questions about this. I didn't like the dismissive attitude. The whole pleb slop narrative, that any pleb that is in Bitcoin for very principled reasons shall just be hand waved away as a ridiculous spouter of slop. That to me is a red flag in itself. I saw who supported uncapping up return. I saw the people who cheered that specific change on. Obviously, the narrative of uncapping up return never made sense to me. It still doesn't. They call it harm reduction, but to standardize a new avenue of spamming and grifting on Bitcoin, I'm just not on board with it. And I think it's a dangerous pivot from trying to keep Bitcoin as money and the mission of separating money and state. So I jumped into supporting BIP-110. I always did say I was not sure this was the best solution, but I always also said that I feel something has to be done to counter this seeming uncontrolled slide of principles that core is exhibiting, in my opinion. So yeah, I kept repeating this, and I kept saying that I supported BIP-110, but there were things that were lingering in my mind as doubts, and still is, which is why I withdrew my support. And I feel like this urgency premise that we have to do something now, it has to be done now, or else it's over. Bitcoin is over. This urgency thing, that's a red flag for me. I think, the whole CSAM thing, I'm actually not sure about that. I think it's crazy that we have opened up return to basically paste in CSAM if someone would be crazy enough to do that. And I do see a difference of CSAM appearing on the Bitcoin blockchain as a result of a standardized way of doing it, instead of through some SegWit Taproot hack with the witness discount. I see a difference there. If nothing else, it's a huge principle difference. I had, and still maybe have, a little bit of a problem with edge cases where coins could theoretically become unspendable. If you have some crazy multi-sig with time locks, for example. I had and still have some issues with understanding the governance part of the BIP-110 side. For example, I'll be blunt and say it like, is Luke fit to be a leader of basically, a full-on pivot of the governance side of Bitcoin? I respect Luke deeply, and I think he lives and bleeds Bitcoin. I think his intentions are as honorable as they get. But some of his rhetoric, I think, is wild, and it's a little bit hard to see that as, being the official voice of Bitcoin governance in some ways. But I think it's even wilder to have Gloria Shao be the official voice of Bitcoin governance, just to make that clear. So I think, it kind of boils down to a question, or it boils down to different things, but should we, you can do nothing, or you can do something, but the something can be doing harm, and also doing nothing right now with BIP-110 is not the same as never doing anything. So is this our best shot? Is it solid enough, good enough for us to use as the last stand, the hill we die on, or not? Because I'm willing to die on a hill to resist what core is doing. That's for sure. I'm just not sure if BIP-110 is the hill. But I do feel, people saying, shall we just sit around talking forever? And that's something I definitely don't want to do. I think that's really bad.
Yeah. Make sure the hill you choose to die on has a sufficiently cozy valley to live in beneath it.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair? Would it be a fair assessment of your position that you are not against BIP-110? You've just withdrawn your official support. So you're right now in the phase of studying the proposal more properly before stating your official position. Would that be? Yeah, because I saw some backlash in a couple of forums where they called it flip-flopping, and that you are now some people see you as an enemy now. Whether I tried to calm that down by saying no, that's tribalism. If a guy has doubts, then just give him time and we'll see what happens.
It was just it was just so retarded in hindsight retarded, because I was honest, and it wasn't like I was aware that I was maybe premature in my support. I think maybe some of it is PTSD from fighting scammers in Bitcoin a lot.
Yeah.
That I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. but it just felt irresponsible for me to, I changed the whole Hodlonaut avatar with the BIP-110 patch and all of that stuff. And that felt suddenly, I had my doubts, but still the principle side of it trumped everything else. And just a short recap of the Giacomo talk, and I kind of feel bad for even tagging him because it's so unfair that people are attacking Giacomo like he somehow tried to convert me to leave BIP-110. He never, with one sentence, tried to make me do anything. I mean, he's a friend. I've known him for a long time. I think he's one of the most honest, solid people in Bitcoin. I never ever caught him in any type of manipulation or dishonesty. And that means a lot to me because I've been here for a while now. So of course, his opinion gave me more doubt when his opinion is that for several reasons, he does not support BIP-110 as of yet. And it came off, understandably very retarded and weirdly, if it was understood like, the miners don't support it, so then it's impossible. It was more like, I think of it like, I don't think miners are gonna help this happen. I think maybe in the end, they could be forced to just go along with it. But I don't think it's gonna be any type of slow trickle where we have 5% miner support, we have 10% miner. It's gonna be almost like a moment where it flips, if it flips. And there was like something about being reality oriented on how uninterested the miners are in this, which it was that was kind of like flawed thinking, but that along with his opinion of the urgency part being overstated, and I do feel that a little bit having been in the Blocksize Wars and listened to Roger for years when with his amazing children are dying messaging, we have to we have to increase the block size for children are dying for fuck's sake. So there are like in some it just gave me more pause and doubt than I could have and still have this BIP-110 support on X. So, but I feel ashamed of it. I mean, I think it's stupid. I think I wasted my credibility.
I don't think that. You wasted some cred points maybe, but not all of them.
But just to be clear then, I do take a lot of self-criticism for it. And now I just want to, make damn sure that I don't take any hard stance on this until I have really, really deeply evaluated it. And also, it's not like I think that and maybe that was my mistake, that more people than I had been away for a long time, that more people cared about what I wrote than I was aware, which made my support it was harder, or it was more impossible to stay in support when I had so much doubt all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, if the day that people stop being stop having self-criticism and just cling on to when tribalism wins, then we don't have any Bitcoin anymore. Like it's getting Bitcoiners to get along is a bit like herding cats, but that's a good thing. So we'll see. I'm still supporting BIP-110, by the way, officially, and I think I can sum up the reasons why by paraphrasing the great speech in Bitcoin. In Team America World Police, Matt and Trey's movie from puppet movie from 2006 or something, I believe.
I remember it well.
Yeah. So the thing is, I'm going to self-censor here a bit. See, there are three kinds of people: D's, P's, and A-holes, right? that's what it is. Maybe I don't need to self-censor since we're so...
Dicks, pussies? Was that
Dicks, pussies, and assholes, yes. There are three kinds of people: dicks, pussies, and assholes. I think we're far enough into the YouTube video to not get like immediately banned there. Pussies think everyone can get along, and dicks just want to fuck all the time without thinking it through. But then you got your assholes, and all the assholes wants to do is shit all over everything. So pussies may get mad at dicks once in a while because pussies get fucked by dicks. But dicks also fuck assholes. And if they didn't fuck the assholes, you know what you get? You get your dick and your pussy all covered in shit. And here comes the paraphrasing. We, the plebs, are the dicks. We are the reckless, arrogant, stupid dicks. We are reckless, arrogant, stupid dicks. And the developers are pussies. And the spammers are assholes. Pussies don't like dicks because pussies get fucked by dicks, meaning us plebs. But dicks also fuck assholes, meaning the spammers. Assholes just want to shit over everything. Pussies may think they can deal with assholes in their way, but the only thing that can fuck an asshole is a dick with some balls. The problem with dicks is that they fuck too much or fuck when it isn't appropriate. And it takes a pussy to show them that. But sometimes pussies get so full of shit that they become assholes themselves, because pussies are only an inch away from an asshole.
Oh my God. That's so much wisdom there, actually.
There's so much wisdom. I don't know much in this crazy, crazy world, but I do know that if you don't let us fuck these assholes, we're going to have our dicks and our pussies all covered in shit. And I think that's the essence of this entire debate. We may be stupid and this may all be pleb slop, but I do pleb slop for a living and I'm not going to stop doing that. I think fucking the assholes is more important here than pleasing the pussies. So that's why I'm taking the official stance.
Yeah, I mean, BIP-110. I'm wholeheartedly behind, what you said there. So if that analogy was the whole thing, we would be, supporting, both of us would be supporting it wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So a bit of history here, I think, is appropriate to get this going. We need to lay out first where we're coming from. We've been friends for a very long time. Behind you, I think you have a picture of our first true collaboration, which is the second edition of the Citadel 21 magazine.
Correct.
Yeah, which you're reviving, by the way. We can get into that later. Or you might be reviving it. We're both on that cover. It's made by Cypherpunk Now, a great Bitcoin artist.
Fisher. Yeah.
Martin Fisher, yeah. And he made but 21 of those. I know Giacomo has one behind him when he does the interviews. And so does Katie the Russian, who's also on there.
So does Mr. Hodl, I think, if he didn't refuse to receive it, because all of the people who are on that poster got one of them.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and I'm right now. I don't have it here in Spain. It's still back in Sweden, but it's a beautiful, beautiful poster, and I aim to put it up behind me someday.
Yeah, shout out to Martin Fisher. I have more of his art on my walls, and I think he's one of the best artists in Bitcoin history.
Absolutely. When is that from, by the way? That issue.
Probably 22.
22. So it's not that old. I mean, we go back earlier than that. I know that.
It could be 21 as well.
Yeah. Because I remember in Riga 2019, there were cutouts of the Hodlonaut helmet and the message, posters saying, "Where's Mr. Cat?" And everyone was looking for you and couldn't find you.
Yeah, that was so cool of the Honey Badger guys to support me like that.
Yeah, and that was your first claim to fame. Had nothing to do with the katana expert Dr. Craig Wright, but it was actually the lightning torch. So after the Blocksize Wars, when the lightning was
just it was May 2020, Knut. So it was earlier than I said.
Yeah. So this is way back. But before that, you started the Lightning Torch, which was basically showing the world that the Lightning Network actually worked by increasing by 1 sat and sending a torch in form of...
it was 10,000 sats increase per jump.
All right. So, and you did that twice. I think I was in the second one, but not in the first one.
Yeah, we tried to do a replay in the year after, in 2020. It got it went really well until some guy misunderstood completely and just sent it. I think he sent it to Jack without even asking Jack if he wanted it, and it just stranded there.
Yeah, a funny experiment though. And before that, if we do a TLDR on the Blocksize Wars, because everyone has a different memory of it, and I'd like to pick your brain on what you remember. I know that the book, The Blocksize Wars, I don't think that gives it tries to be neutral, but I don't think the wars were neutral. I think it was an attempt at a hostile takeover rather than just two sides arguing for different arguments. I think there were vested interests in increasing the block size in order to centralize Bitcoin and take it over. And I think the immune response was against exactly that.
I think we can confirm that suspicion or this claim just by remembering what Roger did a little later. He teamed up with Craig Wright. I think you don't need to know much more about Roger's character and intentions than that.
No, and he also controlled Bitcoin.com, which listed Bitcoin Cash as the real Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Roger actually invented Bitcoin Cash. I think he sort of... there were probably other people involved, but one thing to know here is that the first attempt at increasing the block size was Gavin and Mike Hearn with Bitcoin XT, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted...
was XT before Classic, or were they like parallel? I don't even remember.
I think XT was the first one.
Yeah.
And so what happened was Satoshi pulled out and gave the keys to the repository to Gavin, effectively making Gavin sort of the official spokesperson for Bitcoin. And I suspect that Gavin kind of liked that, and also he got advisory roles in all the surrounding companies and stuff, and he may or may not have had I'm speculating here, and I don't want to be too conspiratorial and bash people too much, but having said that, there clearly was an incentive for him to be on that side, just if not for anything else than to just increase his own influence of the project. And he also, he fell for the whole Craig Wright thing. Craig Wright bamboozled Gavin later, and Gavin said that this is Satoshi. That's also part of the story.
He didn't only fall for it. He allowed Craig to parade him around as the crown witness of his Satoshiness. I sat in the court in 2022 in Oslo listening to Craig's lawyers again and again read Gavin's old words about how Craig was Satoshi, and Gavin just sat and looked at it and didn't come forward at all.
No, and have we heard anything from Gavin since? Has there been any official statement? Has he apologized or something? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
No, so that's interesting. So what happened basically was that there was a cabal of some of the most profitable companies in Bitcoin at the time. Some of the bigger exchanges, some of the biggest miners came together, and what was it called? BitPay, the payment processor, which Jeff Garsick was an advisor to, by the way, and so the big blockers basically came together in a meeting in New York where they decided that we'll implement this SegWit soft fork that everyone wants, but we'll also at the same time hard fork or a couple of months after we'll hard fork and increase the block size to 2 megabytes, the base block size.
This was called SegWit 2x, right?
Yes. And then the soft fork happened smoothly because everyone was signaling that they were for it. And then this is very much a TLDR. There's like BIP 91 and 141 and 148, a bunch of stuff happening that we don't need to go into that much detail. But what basically happened was that the users said no to the hard fork, which was then cancelled because the miners were afraid of splitting the chain. So they cancelled the 2x part of the thing because people were signaling against it. And around the time, there's also then the Bitcoin Cash hard fork happens, right? They decide that at a certain block height, they're going to split the chain into two, effectively making the 21 million, 42 million. So like a crossover between a Christmas present and a train crash. And then a future market forms for that, where you can sort of stake your bets on which of the chains are going to win. And I think this futures market is a big deal in what's actually going to happen in scenarios like this, because
but now you're talking about the 2x chain or the SegWit chain, right?
Exactly. The futures market.
The Bcash chain, since it's hard fork, that ran its course. Regardless.
So this is I'm mixing things up here, but of course the futures market is for will there be a 2x chain or not? And there's clearly a signal that there wouldn't be one. And this had played a big role in why the miners capitulated, I think. And a lot of that had to do with this user-activated software. Also to be remembered, Yihan Wu and Bitmain had something called ASIC Boost, which is, it's not proven that they actually ever used it, but it was a way for them for their miners to mine more efficiently than competing miners.
It was like a small bug in the hashing algorithm, or in SHA-256, I think, that you could hash like 10% faster or something with this implementation.
Yes. And SegWit would prevent that, so it would prevent the head start that Bitmain had.
That made Bitmain dig in pretty hard against it.
Yeah. So and what we have now is a similar situation, but the big difference is that this time around, Core is not on the same side as the intolerant minority of plebs, because we had an intolerant minority of plebs. That's what triggered the Blocksize Wars, that thing too, like that prevented that hard fork from happening. So right now we're in the stages of having there's a proposed soft fork. We don't know if it will lead to a hard fork, but that's one of the concerns, is that it might lead to a hard fork, and nobody sort of wants that.
Yeah, I think the dynamics are rather different, even though, I agree with what you say, but back then it was like, from my perspective, it was like everyone pretty much in Bitcoin, or the huge majority, viewed the big block thing as an attack on the status quo. And now it's kind of like turned around a little bit, because, and probably entrenched by the fact that Core has always been on the side of and seen as good actors and, solid Bitcoiners. And right now it's kind of different. It's like, it's easy for the pro V30 people to portray the BIP-110 people as, attacking the status quo, so to say, or like wanting to do reckless things. And I think that's an interesting debate on its own, like, because I've seen quite a few people, while I supported BIP-110, trying to put me like, oh, you're basically a BSVer now, or like, which is insane to me. So which one of these sides can credibly claim that the other side reminds most of the big blockers back then?
Yeah, and that's a super interesting discussion, because the first change, the controversial change that people were opposed to, was the return policy increase, which is not a consensus change, but still a change to a policy that most of the, or at least 20% of the plebs didn't agree to.
It's a standardization, right?
Yeah. So it is signaling that these things are okay now. Go and do them here. Which is a very, very, it's subtle, but it is a change from the attitude in Bitcoin back in 2017, I think.
Yes,
like there was
agree.
So, and if I hope I'm not misrepresenting any stance here, but I think the argument from Core is that in the end, this results in something less harmful than if we kept things the way they were. And on the other side, you have, we don't care if it's less harmful or not. We want to fight these things completely, and we don't want them here. We want to kick them out, while the core side is saying that it's futile and spam can always be crammed in other different ways. And therein lies the core of the conflict, pardon the pun.
Yeah, and the more, that's the one thing that the more I reflect on it and think about it, and the more I hear the rationale or the attempted rationale, it just makes less and less sense to me. And just like the first principle of, it's possible to abuse the Bitcoin blockchain with this SegWit Taproot hack and the witness discount to cram bullshit in there in very complex ways that you basically need third-party applications to be able to view them. Let's just uncap up return and make it possible. Like, let's open a huge new door and standardize that to like the signal and the philosophical impact of that from the reference implementation is unacceptable to me.
Yeah, so the question then becomes, what shall we do about it and when? And the proposal is BIP-110.
Yeah, and I love the concept of limiting up return in as a consensus rule.
Yeah, so I love that too. Like, because all of a sudden it's consensus, and you don't have this. You're forcing the network to make a decision, basically. So maybe we should go through the points of the fork, or maybe a bit of other preamble here. I think the another thing here, and why the BIP is controversial, is that some fringe use cases that has to do with what's it called, TapScript and some time lock functions, miniscript. Yeah, so some really advanced features of Bitcoin. Like, you have this, I met a lot of developer types in Bitcoin that have this vision of, if we can make it more complex and if we can allow it to be more programmable, we get all these nice features. And my approach has always been, before deciding your opinion on anything in this, ask yourself, does this make Bitcoin better money? And to me, better money is very simple. It's you have the 6 or 7 properties of money, and you have money solves 2 problems. It's the mutual coincidence of need problem, which allows money to be better than barter, and then there's economic calculation. It allows you to do economic calculation, and the more fixed the supply, the more predictable the schedule, the more predictable and stable everything is, the better it functions at that, basically, which is why you shouldn't fuck with it. So fucking with it there's always a cost to fucking with the rules, because it may fuck up an incentive here or there, thereby making it less good as money because it's now less predictable. And it doesn't matter if you have a smart contract feature in which you can time lock 1 out of 7 signing participants in a like, that is always inferior to me. To me, that's always inferior to just, I hate the word ossifying, but to just leave Bitcoin alone and don't fiddle around with it. There's a fuck around and find out part to doing so always.
I always loved the term ossify, but it's probably because I'm a ridiculously stupid plebs slop spouter.
I don't think Bitcoin can ossify, because it's at the end of the day is people voluntarily choosing software.
But the concept being, that fuck all this innovation. We have already now something that is completely disruptive to a lot of the worst shit going on in the world because of the money system. Why should we risk it? And I just want to put something in there that I thought about when you talked now, like the arguments. One thing that triggers me and that is a red flag for me is bad faith arguments, and arguments that are, basically false or exaggerated or designed to create FUD. And I want to throw in one argument that I've seen, and that's been picked up by a lot of people. It's basically that BIP-110 breaks multisig. And suddenly you have, so many Bitcoiners secure their coins with different multisig solutions, usually 2 out of 3. And when you sow this suspicion or argument that BIP-110 is a threat to your cold storage if you run a regular multisig, that's a very bad faith argument to me, because it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly to the argument on the other side, on the pro BIP-110 side, that someone is claiming that Bitcoin is 100% dead if we don't do something now. It's urgent and it has to happen now. But that doesn't, I mean, I'm just throwing this out there because I think that's two examples of things that I personally don't find any truth in.
Were you pro Taproot?
Yeah, but it was based on trusting other people.
Yeah, same here.
It wasn't based on, and I think that was one of the really cool things about Mechanics' last video, that he kind of owned up to having been that he took self-criticism for some of the mechanics and stuff that happened in the Blocksize War. And I think honesty, also looking back, is really important, that we have to be honest about things.
Yeah, the way I see, we won one battle, so we proved that Bitcoin can be like this, decentralized enough to withstand attacks. We didn't prove that it would always be, and we didn't prove that was always going to be the case. We just proved that we had the ability to resist a hostile takeover. And Taproot, I was for it too, because I've been convinced by some technical arguments about coin joins and basically making transactions more private and more anonymous because of the same lengthness of. But in hindsight, I think it came with side effects that were definitely not worth it. And I'm with Jimmy Song's stance on this, as that in hindsight, we probably should have been a bit more self-critical and
that adds credibility and weight to the ossification argument, or call it not ossification, but like the resistance to big changes, or the resistance to this innovation narrative.
Yeah. Because when that is actually the case, when Bitcoin is actually resistant to change, sufficiently resistant to change, theoretically at least, that means that Bitcoin can only change for the better, which is like the opposite of a democracy. But it means that if we have such overwhelming consensus that we will change it, then everyone thought it was a good idea, meaning that we can define what good is by that metric alone.
Yeah. After we won the Blocksize War, I think I could go back and find tons of tweets about this from Hodlonaut, that, let's not risk this again, guys. Let's stay sober now and not do crazy shit anymore. Now we have what we need. Let's not get crazy. And the analogy would be, if I lived with my family in some almost paradise place. I almost said island, but I think you can't use the word island positively anymore. But
at least not when you have children on it.
Anyways, if I had a nice setup with my life and with the things that really mattered to me, no way in hell would I start risking that for like small potential increments of even more happiness,
Yeah, no.
When the alternative outcome can be that a dragon comes flying in and burns down my family and everything. That's just like very simple logic to me.
Yeah, exactly. And
I think that kind of brings us into this, because it's a weird situation. It's like, I have this position that I don't want Bitcoin to change, and then I'm seeing core pushing change in a direction I hate. And then there is no solution to just sit still and continue to let that happen, because that's like slow motion dragon flying in to torch everything I love.
Yeah.
But also, I don't want to risk releasing another dragon that flies way faster and like the resistance leading to even faster destruction. So it's a very difficult situation right now, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's hard to know what the proper stance is, and our reputations are on the line after this has played out. Regardless of which side that wins, our tweets are gonna haunt us. That's always the case.
I don't care about outcome. I care about if my intention was honest, and I can't do anything more than contributing my most honest words and actions, and if they were wrong, so be it.
Here's another interesting conversation I had with Jimmy Song about being principled versus being utilitarian, and I think the way I see it, the lower your time preference, the more utilitarian your principles become. So being principled is utilitarian, but only if you have an extremely low time preference. If you can extrapolate your time preference into forever, then a principled approach to everything is the correct one. Whereas utilitarianism, like making your decisions not because you believe in them from first principles, but because of an outcome you find more or less likely,
exactly.
is sort of a high time preference thing. And here's to me where this becomes so fucking tricky in Bitcoin, because the utility of signaling pro this fork and everything is that it might scare off spammers, and it's seemingly so, because now fees are low and there isn't as much spam as there was, because I think that some of these people are getting cold feet. And that's the same thing with also, developers who want to do really advanced features in wallets. I mean, the more fringe you become in Bitcoin and the more fringe things you do, the more your coins are at risk. And that was always the case. If you decide to make a transaction that that a part of the community does not approve of, or we don't like that transaction, we are tolerating it, but we don't approve of it, like an NFT on Bitcoin, for instance, of a stupid dick pic or whatever, monkey JPEG, then that is a riskier transaction. But because at some point there's the risk that feature will be soft forked away, or by some consensus rule change, those coins are at risk. And I think what BIP-110 does, and what this proposed cat thing that is probably not going anywhere, but just the threat of that thing happening and like doing this whack-a-mole thing, I think that scared off some spammers. Some of them are signaling that we don't care what you do, we're always going to find new ways, but I don't really buy that. You should check out our latest sponsor, BitVault. BitVault is real hardcore Bitcoin security. They combine multisig with a time delay so that they discourage thieves from using $5 or $15 or $21 wrenches to bash your head in. This time lock function increases the risk for the thief, discourages coercion, and makes the whole act less likely to happen. Go to bitvault.sv right now and check out their offers. You can get a yearly subscription for $129, and it's a fantastic product overall. Brush your teeth. Our favorite hardware wallet is, of course, the Bitbox. Check out our friends at Bitbox at bitbox.swiss. There you'll find a bunch of different products, but the main one, the Bitbox O2 Nova with the Bitcoin firmware installed, is a fantastic hardware wallet, and the software that comes along with it has a fantastic user interface. It is one of my personal favorites. It's easy to use and it's super secure. It's my personal favorite hardware wallet. It's super slick, super privacy focused, and super easy to use. So go to bitbox.swiss, and Swiss, and use code Infinity for a discount. Check it out now.
It's it's decentralized threat against centralization. And grifters, they always would want more centralization. Should we try to run through like what we consider what is against BIP-110, or what gives us pause and what gives us the desire to die on the hill?
Yes, I have the website up here, BIP110.org, and we can just go through the entire thing and see how much of it we understand to begin with, and then.
Yeah, but I'm up for that. But I was thinking more like not only the actual changes, but like the broader situation of it, and how we interpret it. What is what is the reason that you are on the hill, and what is the reason? What, if any, reasons do you see as against it?
Well, the dicks, pussies, and assholes position is my that's my stance. That's the hill I'm dying on. But I think Mechanic is right in saying that this doesn't require that much more than 10% for miners to just go on mining on this chain because they have basically nothing to lose from doing so. Miners are not making that much from putting spam on the chain as people think.
But then, I think, just to look at the percent is kind of, I mean, we have to be honest and say that there are differences between nodes. You have like super connected, crazy big economic nodes, and you have pleb number 1438 that runs a node at home, and they are different. And I think definitely we will need some of these economic nodes to support it, or we will need BIP-110 will need.
Slightly different opinion there. I think that they. Right now, the node count signaling for BIP-110 is around 7.5%, which is very close to 10, which is the, paraphrasing here, what I think is Mechanic's opinion is that's around how much we need, because then we'll just have to fold. Because because we don't know whether these nodes signaling, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think I got this right, that there is no way to actually know whether a node signaling for this is an actual heavyweight economic node or not. You can only see that it's signaling for it or not. So there's no way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you don't know how much significance that node has when push comes to shove in September. And so right now we have basically no miners signaling for this yet. Then again, they have up until September to start signaling for it. And if there's a 55% threshold of miners before that, then the soft fork will just happen. And if there's not consensus, all of the users that are willing to die on this hill will just reject any block that doesn't follow the tighter rules. So the incentive for the miner, and sure, go comment and stuff, brush your teeth first, but tell me why I'm an idiot and stuff, and why Hodlonaut is an idiot in the comments, of course. But the theory is that there's no reason for them to not follow that chain because the rules are tighter. So every block that is compliant with BIP-110 is also compliant with the looser rules. You understand where I'm going with this? There's like, and for the miner, there is a risk of mining the blocks with the bigger op returns and stuff, because that has a risk of being rejected by the network. So why would they take that risk when there's not that much reward in it? And for that to happen, like the estimate is that we need around 10% support. Somewhat by that. I mean, the thing is, even with the Blocksize Wars, there are so many interpretations of what actually happened. And it's very hard in a decentralized system to have any kind of objective view of what was actually going on. So I think it's very hard to assess the probability of this and that happening. And I know a lot of big names in Bitcoin have very different opinions on it. I don't agree with Toneway's triangle thingy. I think that's misguided.
Yeah, I stopped listening to Toneway's a long time ago. I don't, because there is, to me, that's he is noise in my opinion.
Yeah, I did a one of his Knots versus Core series. Like him and Jimmy interviewed me in San Salvador. And now they've done the last one, I think. Or Tone did one with Vortex after he did one with just Jimmy. But the one with Jimmy is very interesting. I'd recommend that one, even though they are time consuming to listen to these things. But yeah, as I said, it's hard to get a neutral position. What I don't like sometimes in the Knots camp is this tribalism, or this "if you're not for us, you're against us" kind of attitude. I don't think that helps. I think that's sort of, I understand where they're coming from, and a lot of them are passionate and fighting for Bitcoin's soul. We are too. It's just that, like, I think there's a point to diplomacy, for sure.
Yeah, well, I fully understand it, and I think it comes from, a place where you really want to defend something, and I got my fair share of shit last 24 hours or so, or 48 hours. But I'm taking it on the chin because I kind of think I deserved it a little bit, and for the flip-flopping and like my lack of wisdom in jumping to something, but I do understand it, and I do understand the disappointment when you think it is a really, really important fight. If you think someone or if you even suspect that someone has, and that's kind of the problem here, that it's making the jump to thinking someone is compromised happens a little bit too fast for some people, I think. Yeah. Which is unfortunate, but it's also understandable, especially in the world we live in today with all the fucking crazy shit that is coming out, So, yeah. Do you want me to just quickly go through my
just one more point on the diplomacy thing before I forget it, ADD brain. But that is this. I think you can draw a line between two extremes, like the extreme cypherpunk ethos Bitcoiner, and on the opposite side of there you have David Bailey, which a Bitcoiner who thinks adoption is everything, and it doesn't matter who the fuck you steamroll over in the way to adoption.
I mean, I think if David Bailey could earn money on the adoption going down, he would be against adoption.
Yeah. So maybe, absolutely. He's a bad example. But say someone who just wants Bitcoin to be adopted by as many people as possible, by all means necessary. I think that extreme adoption thing is counterproductive, because if someone tries shitcoins for one cycle, it will take them another decade before they can figure out the difference between Bitcoin and shitcoins, and therefore, like these confusing conferences and articles written about that, they're not adding to real adoption. I mean, paper Bitcoin is not Bitcoin. Like more ETFs adopting Bitcoin is not really more adoption of Bitcoin. It's 100%, more adoption of 100%. Paper Bitcoin.
Maybe it's even unadoption.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you have too far on the other side of the extreme, that it's just this fringe hate everyone else in society type of super cypherpunk ethos person, then you get no adoption, and we can play around, and that doesn't work either if we're going to take on the central banks at some point. So I think there's a balance to be struck there.
Yeah,
and it's very hard to know where the appropriate stance is, and where you.
Yeah, for sure. So we can only do our best in trying to navigate this, and I mean, that's what I've been doing. I just made the mistake of being premature. It turned out I didn't think I was premature, but now I'm gonna make damn sure that I don't take any firm side until I am sure of it. Because as I tried to get across, it's not like I look at BIP-110 as anything resembling, bad faith or attack, or I applaud it, and I applaud, anyone who wants to fight for Bitcoin.
You were just in support, prematurely in full support of it. All right.
Correct. So, yeah,
let's go through it.
Yeah. And it's not a long list or anything like that, and maybe it's not even exhaustive for what I'm thinking, but it's what I just jotted down before we got on this call. And if I first do the pro BIP-110 things, on top I just wrote principles in big letters, because that's like the real big deal for me, because I really believe that if you start compromising on principles with technical hand waving and huge word salads and saying everyone who doesn't understand this is a non-technical idiot, that's like a surefire way that Bitcoin is going to be Ethereum and worse down the road. So that is like 100% something that made me want to support BIP-110. Bitcoin is money, and spam is not money. I love the thought of rugging these spammers. I'm so fucking tired of all these lying grifters who misrepresent things and tried to basically harm Bitcoin to personally enrich themselves. The fact, the flags around the whole Citria launch and the timing and all of that, how many red flags? It's so bad.
Yeah, and all the worst people are pro this thing. Yeah,
and who runs Bitcoin? Obviously, if Bitcoin is run by ivory tower developers and miners, then Bitcoin is already Walking Dead thing. Node runners have to count here. That's for sure. I've seen bad faith arguments from the anti-BIP-110 side that alone makes me, sympathetic to the BIP-110 side. For example, this like fudding around loss of funds, which is a non-factor as far as I now know for basically everyone. If you're not like some mad professor that made insane multisig, custom multisig setup with time locks and God knows what else.
So basically, only if you Luke Dasher, you're at risk.
Maybe Luke Dasher is taking an even bigger one for the team by risking his funds here.
Yeah.
Technical hand waving, like just observing the wokification of core, and I'm saying it out loud, the wokification of core. Like, what the fuck is when woke politics and DEI enters the height, the pinnacle of Bitcoin development? What the fuck?
Yeah. This is the dicks, pussies, and assholes argument all over again.
And then the against BIP-110. I don't like this premise that this has to happen now or never, and Bitcoin is dead the moment, for example, a CSAM picture lands on the blockchain. I don't think it's that clear cut at all. It's disgusting and fucked up, but it's not that clear cut.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the reason, some justification for that position is that I do not believe judges to be rational people when it comes to technicalities in computer thingies.
No, exactly. So they could already find some premise to,
They're not going to care if Bitcoin officially supports this or not. And I don't buy that specific argument.
No, it's just a disgusting thing to support it and standardize it.
Yeah. I don't think arbitrary data has a place in Bitcoin. I'm very I don't know if I want op return to exist at all. Because I don't know why you would need to put other data into Bitcoin at all. I think Pierre Rocard was pro that position too. Just remove the entire thing.
Just remove it. Yeah.
It was put there in the first place. It's kind of like the big increase because it was like, okay, you want to do at least do it here. It's always been at least do it here because it's less harmful.
Yeah, you want to scam a little bit? Okay, you can scam a little bit here.
Yeah, but no, I mean,
to continue then.
Yeah, sure.
Also, and I think the spam urgency is in the same boat. I did sync up a node, a BIP-110 node, like 5 days ago, and it took less than 30 hours on a 5-year-old laptop. It had an SSD, that's crucial here, and it had 16 gigabytes of RAM. But as of now, the spam topic it's not like in 1 or 2 or 3 years, spam has ruined Bitcoin, in my opinion. It hasn't ruined initial block download in 3 years or 4 years. Down the road, like in 20 years, maybe, I don't know.
Okay. If I may, I have a difference of opinion here because it's the foreverness of it. If we have to store it forever, then it's crucial that we fight it off as much as we can. Because
but if Bitcoin is going to live for 500 years, what difference is it? Like life or death if we stop it the year 14, 15, 16, or 17?
I think there is, because I think there are second-order effects that are very hard to see here. I think there is an urgency in the sense that if we don't show at the early stages that no, you cannot fucking take this over. No, we are going to be resilient. We are going to be resistant. Then you're sending a signal that will lead to worse things. It's a slippery slope argument, and I think Bitcoin has shown that in the past, and that it's not continuing to show that kind of resilience.
Yeah,
to me.
Yeah, makes sense somewhat. I think the longer you tolerate something, the harder it is to turn it around also, because every day of tolerance brings strength to the status quo, so to say.
Yes, and it also brings more vested interests in these things, like Citria, for instance, that shouldn't exist.
But still, I oppose the narrative that this is now or never. It could be, in hindsight, that this was the time, because this has already gathered momentum, and that matters. How easy would it be to even come where we are now in opposition to the direction of core? Probably really hard.
Okay, I think this is where you and I differ a bit, because I think that initial momentum, this may be the only opportunity we get.
But that's what I said, Knut. So then we don't differ. Then you misunderstood me.
Okay. Sorry, but yeah. So what's the counter argument? Like I thought you were making a counter argument.
This is like my argument
for the BIP-110.
No, it is actually against it, because I am saying that. Or I'm just steelmanning my own argument, or like devil's advocating it. Like maybe this is the chance, but I'm still saying that the absolute conviction that it's now or never is not something we know. It could be.
There's a Ben Affleck Batman quote here. So like if there's a slightest chance that Superman may destroy humanity, then we have to take it as an absolute certainty. Like this.
Yeah, that would make sense if there was no chance of doing harm with the action you chose to pursue.
Yeah, fair enough.
But so that's that. And then the fact that there is a theoretical chance, and probably a real reality, that some coins would be unspendable under BIP-110. Some UTXOs would just be locked. And that is an argument that has been fielded to me very passionately by people against BIP-110, and I can't just completely dismiss that argument, because they made a setup that was valid within the Bitcoin rules when they did it, and a change that would permanently make those funds lost is problematic.
It's setting a very dangerous precedent. I can agree to that. Yeah. However, I think as I mentioned before, I think there's a fuck around and find out scale here. Mm-hmm. If you just use Bitcoin as intended, as money, then your coins are at no risk. They're only at risk if you try to fiddle around with these BitVMs things, or what maybe I'm pulling this out of my ass. But if you're using advanced shit, like the more fringe things you're doing with Bitcoin, the more your coins are at risk. That was always true. To me, that was always true. But my argument would be that you cannot own a Bitcoin. Like if you go deep into this, the only reason that I can act as if I owned my Bitcoin is that A, I find it improbable that someone else has access to the same private key, and B, that I find it improbable that the network that the protocol rules will change to such an extent that my coins will be at risk of not being accessible to me anymore. Mm-hmm. And if those two are true, which I think they are, then the more complicated shit you were trying to do with it, the more at risk your coins were. That was always true to me.
Yeah, but as a fund owner, as a Bitcoin hodler, you are not necessarily the one who has engineered this way of storing your Bitcoins. That can have been done by some expert that presented a whole other narrative to you as the owner of the Bitcoin, that this is possible, this is the rules of Bitcoin, this is a really good way to store your Bitcoin.
But the responsibility is still yours. That's the beauty of the system, that you are responsible. And like, if you have the I'm with stupid t-shirt on instead of the I'm responsible t-shirt on, you are fucking around and you will eventually find out. That's my argument. Anyway,
I think it's fair. And I'm just like trying to give the points that, has given me pause, because if a person came to me saying that this is my setup, and as you see, they are stored with a time lock and 600 key multisig, and I'm losing everything if this activates, that I mean, it's hard for me to just say, yeah, well, you stupid fuck, you shouldn't have done that, because I do understand some of the argument on the other side too. That's all. So there's that, and
well, I would say that if just to do a final rebuttal here, is that if BIP-110 does that, it will not go through because it's too stupid. Like, then people will resist it. Bitcoin already has an internal mechanism to prevent that from happening, because it won't get the support it needs if that was the case. Like, I think there's a circular argument there somewhere, and I'm basing that on that I don't really own my Bitcoin. I act as if I do.
But can we agree that that would be the first time in Bitcoin history that some person lost Bitcoin after having stored them within consensus rules at the time?
I don't think that's actually correct, because I think the inflation bug could have been can be framed as that.
Mm-hmm.
Or something back in the past where the rules were changed. I'm not like here. Also, I should do my homework more. But I think that some of the Satoshi Dice stuff, like that prevented maybe not a certain way of storing Bitcoin, but it does definitely prevented a quote unquote use case. So you can fuck up someone's business model that works on Bitcoin right now because of what the consensus rules are by tightening the rules. But that was my point, is that was always the case, and it doesn't really matter if that involves freezing sub 1000 sat UTXOs or not. Or fucking up some NFT salesman's business model. The point of this whole fork is to make it costlier to abuse the network, and
which I agree with.
So there's like, if you want to make an omelette, you have to break some eggs kind of argument.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind that I just ran through a whole list of pro BIP-110 angles as well. So this is to try to explain what is still giving me some pause to go and wanting to pick up my sword and shield and die on the hill.
Okay.
Yeah. And the last thing, I think, which is something I basically need to understand better, is the whole governance aspect of it. And that includes code quality. There was a bug recently, which is, Core V30 had a bug, right? So
yeah.
It's not like
quite
that.
a serious one.
Yeah. Which is both, argument for and against, because it shows that you can still have a bug in very broadly reviewed code. And you can have a bug in code that is not reviewed that much. So it's like the code quality aspect and the whole aspect of what happens after the year is over, because this change is temporary, right, for a year.
Yeah, and that year is not set in stone either. It can be revoked at any point. Like that's the fail-safe by the network, I guess, by the consensus. Again, I should have done my homework better, but it's not like a forever thing.
No. It's just that if we open the door to just a myriad of just one consensus fight after the other, and all of them will obviously be controversial and have infighting, and it's like I would probably, I'm very open to just me not having understood the wisdom of this temporarity of it, which I hope to learn more about. But yeah, it just doesn't vibe with my wish to because this is a very exhausting and damaging fight for Bitcoin. So if we're just kicking the can 1 year and we will have the same fight in 1 year, I think that's not good.
But I don't think that's the point of the reversibility. Like the whole point of the fork is like hitting the developers on the nose and telling them that guys, you are not in charge. We are. Like do as we say, or we will have to do things like this.
Which is like super cool. But what will we do after the year? How will we form the consensus going forward from there, and who will be the leaders and the people writing this code, basically? Will it be Luke and Mechanic and Dayton?
Well, I don't think that's how it works. I don't think you're a Bitcoin core developer if you're not aware of how the system may change in ways that you don't approve of. That was always true. Like, I don't think core maintainers are going to quit Bitcoin because there's a soft fork that they don't particularly like that is being implemented. I don't think that's the reason why you... And I think Jimmy Song made this point on Tone's show as well, quite eloquently, like that's not how developers work. Like, you don't devote your life to a project like this if you don't agree to... the nature of the project. And the nature of the project is that this was always the case. The users could always go against the developers. That's not new. They were aware of that all the time. And if they weren't aware of that, should they really have been there in the first place? Like
Gloria Shaw certainly didn't seem to be aware of it.
No, but she shouldn't have been there in the first place.
I don't think so.
Which has nothing to do with her gender or her skin color. It has to do with her having these fucking...
And even
anti-pleb opinions.
Yeah, even implying that gender or skin color or anything is a factor is bad faith.
Yes, and all of those DEY narratives are a side effect of the state owning money production. That might be hard for people to see, but politicians have too much power because of money printing, and therefore we get crazy fucking clown world things like DEY.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have that, we'd have a functioning meritocracy where no one gave a fuck about your sexual preference or if you were a devout Catholic or if you were whatever, and it was completely based on merit. And that's what every single Bitcoiner I know wants a meritocracy, Bitcoin to be a meritocracy and nothing else.
Exactly. Yeah. No, agreed. And I think maybe I shall repeat, because I'm not sure if I've said it out loud in this talk. I've said it to exhaustion on X, that in my opinion, Core carries the whole responsibility for the situation we are in right now. They caused this response by extremely arrogant, irresponsible, and reckless behavior in uncapping up return, in the face of huge controversy.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And that's like another thing, when I see them rejecting that, like they can't even accept that fact, then what the fuck? This is why, like, I want a response to this. I want to support something that confronts it. And as we've been through, it's just that I feel like I was premature.
If you want to find local Bitcoin communities, other Bitcoiners, Bitcoin merchants, and Bitcoin events in your area, there's no better way to do that than through the Orange Pill app. Wait a minute, it's not the Orange Pill app anymore. It's Club Orange. Club Orange is an Omni app that includes a lot of features, including a list of events, a wallet where you can send and receive sats over the Lightning Network. You can even geo-sap areas, so you can send sats to a whole bunch of people in one single area. You can also tap sap while you're chatting to someone, which is a new feature that I don't believe exists anywhere else. Overall, a fantastic app for connecting Bitcoiners all around the world. So go to cluborange.org and sign up today. You won't regret it. It's not just a gay dating app, it's everything else too. You can use it for... forget about that. Go and sign up. cluborange.org. If you want to really secure your Bitcoin, you should check out the Bitcoin Advisor. They have never lost a single sat, and they take care of your stack together with you. They can't use your stack. That's impossible. But they can help you with inheritance planning. They can help you hodl the Bitcoin long term. So go to thebitcoinadvisor.com to find out more and brush your teeth. So what's the best counter argument to BIP-110 then? What's your strongest reason for pulling out your support? Like what is the crux of it? Is it just hang on a minute, I'll need to do my homework?
Yeah, I think it's the sum of doubts that some of them were already there all the way, as I posted about while supporting it. Like, I am not sure if BIP-110 is the best solution, but I still supported it because I was so sure that core direction needs to be opposed. And then, after talking to, and once again, Giacomo did not reach out to talk to me. I reached out to talk to him. He did not try to convince me. It's just that I respect his opinion a lot, and it gave me more doubt after talking to him. I'm honest about that, Of course, you shouldn't trust anyone blindly, but reality is that me and you and a lot of other people also use the social compass in navigating, and we do outsource some, or like at least listen to the people who have proven themselves worthy to listen to. And suddenly I found myself, it's not like, Giacomo, he shares all of my anger at core, basically. But he does not think BIP-110 is a responsible solution.
So how much of that do you think is just, like, Giacomo might be a bad example here. So like, let's not make this personal, but for influencers in general, or people who make a living out of being a voice in the Bitcoin space, I would say that there is an incentive to stay on the sidelines and not invest too much in a fight that you're not sure if you're going to win, because you don't know what the result will be on the other side of that fight. So I think there's a reputational damage to be had and I think there's influences like people who speak at conferences, people like me, and to me, that was sort of more of a reason to actually signal that I am willing to die on this hill, because the only thing that got me here in the first place was this principled approach to stuff. And like, as soon as I start compromising that, I become no better than anyone else.
No.
Not saying that I am better than anyone else, but I'm just saying that, yeah, I have my doubts about the actual fork as well, but I feel so strongly about fighting for Bitcoin's core principles. And to me, there's this Venn diagram of knowledge about computer networks and economic literacy. And ideally, you want the Bitcoiners to be in the middle of that Venn diagram.
Mm.
But and I feel that core has lost the part of the economic literacy way too much. I think maybe some of the people trying to keep the monetary thing, they don't have the technical understanding required. I might be in that camp, sure. But at least I'm trying to push the economic literacy bubble to be bigger and more important for the discussion. Make of that what you will.
Yeah. One thing I've observed also, which I think is, I think you're very correct that a lot of people are scared to pick a side here, and I don't think they became less scared when they see the level of backlash that comes whenever you choose a side.
No.
And I've managed the amazing feat of being hated by both sides in some ways right now, which is kind of funny. But I can assure it wasn't out of anything but, of Bitcoin and trying to do the right thing. I've seen one thing, I think at least I've seen it. I'm not going to be bombastic about it, but it really seems like that there is a cohort of people who resist and try to, shut down this BIP-110 thing because it's making noise, it's making drama, it's hurting the price. And that to me is like, that's not a good reason to be against BIP-110. If you think, if the only reason you're against it is because it can hurt, like drama can hurt the price short term.
No, and that's like, this has been one of my key points since the whole core versus not debate started, and that is that everyone should be happy that this conflict is happening, because it means that Bitcoiners care. If we were just going along with anything like then that would be much more dangerous. It is going to be chaotic. It's going to be super fucking scary, and Bitcoin is going to be at the brink of death from certain point of views. That's part of the system. That's what we signed up for. It's why it's different. It's why it's special to me, because there is no guiding light. There is no leader that can tell you what the correct position to have here is. Which is why I'm so frustrated when I see tribalism form and like this whole "if you're not with us, you're against us" attitude, because I don't think that helps either. And of course, this might be self-contradictory then, and with talking about the pros of being on the sidelines and not taking a side, and that's as cowardice. But as with all things, there's a balance to be struck.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's this is a difficult topic. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking and reading and trying to address my what is giving me, what is unclear to me. And yeah, I'm not going to make any rash decision for sure again. And if I ever, were to support BIP-110 again, which, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I think you need to be able to change your mind in the face of new information and new understanding. And once and again, this just underlines the stupidity in me to be premature in supporting it. And I tried to explain it was because I was away for a long time. I came in underinformed and emotional, and I regret it. It would be so much better if I was still on the sidelines, and just kept learning, and then I could take a position. But I'm not done with this discussion. That's So we don't really know your position yet. You're no,
still...
and it shouldn't. Honestly, it shouldn't really matter, to be honest.
No, you should make up your own mind. It's like the Life of Brian scene. We're all different.
Yeah. So it's not like I think that my opinion should matter a lot to anyone, but probably the reality is that some people value my opinion too, and they want my opinion, and that's why it was super important for me to be honest that shit, I think I don't have this conviction right now. I have to withdraw my support right now, even if it was stupid as fuck and made me look like an idiot.
So let's try a thing here. If I go to the website and just read off of it and see what our ideas are about these specific points, is that okay?
Yeah, I think it has to be the last point on this call though, but because I'm gonna
have a hard stop
date with my girlfriend.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't want to fuck that up. So how it works: simple restrictions that preserve all monetary use cases while limiting data abuse. So output size limits. New outputs are limited to 34 bytes, except op return, which allows up to 83 bytes. The output size limits, that is to make it more expensive to put JPEGs and stuff on chain, I guess, because you have to split them up into smaller parts, leading to bigger fees having to be paid because more V bytes per transaction of these things, right? Is that how you interpret it?
Yeah, I mean, I also interpret it putting the op return limitation into consensus and strangling it at 83 bytes instead of 100 kilobytes.
Yeah, that's also yeah. So I think in knots it's defaulted as the default is 42 bytes and not 83. Because but that's the mempool policy. I mean, you can just do that afterwards too, I guess. Mm-hmm. Whatever that. So data push limits. Data pushes and witness elements are limited to 256 bytes maximum. Op push data payloads and witness stack elements exceeding 256 bytes are invalid, except BIP-16 redeem script. So I guess this is another attempt at strangling whatever comes in there as spam.
Yeah, I think already, because I'll be perfectly honest and say that I don't know anything about OP push data payloads and witness stack elements. So that tells me that it would probably be smart to have like a layman's explanation on all of these points on this site.
Yeah, I think so too. Absolutely. But I'm just going to assume that all of these limits are to make spamming more expensive by limiting the amount 100%. Of data per transaction. I think that's the retard understanding of it that actually works. Witness version restrictions, only well-defined witness versions, V0 and Taproot, can be spent during the deployment. Now, I'm confused. Do you understand any of this?
Does this have anything to do with like SegWit discount? I don't know. Probably not. So I think I have no idea.
Yeah, this is Hodlonaut and Knut naked here, admitting how much pleb slop retard we actually are.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, here is where some of these wallet developers and stuff could be irritated at this, because some of their functionalities would not work anymore, right? But that is motivated by the bigger incentive to just fuck with Citria and the likes of it.
Yeah, but I think the broad understanding I have is that none of these restrictions fuck with any like popular normal use case wallets at all, and that's very important to keep in mind. It does fuck with the ability of mental gymnastic grifters to by different methods use Bitcoin for non-monetary transactions.
Yeah, if I'm going to devil's advocate against this, that would be that it might disincentivize developers from working on new interesting features that could actually have monetary use case. But I don't think that's a very strong argument. Anyway, Taproot restrictions. Taproot annexes large control blocks and certain opcodes are temporarily restricted. Yeah, I don't think anyone uses Taproot for whatever it was for its intended uses anyway, or a very limited usage of that. So it's being used way more for crap. So I don't think that's a big concern.
Would it be fair to say that the main result or the main innovation downstream of Taproot being merged was ordinals?
Is this conspiracy theory territory where we think that it was actually pushed through because of that?
It was actually not intended as that by me, but I certainly see that it could be interpreted like that.
Yeah, and some malicious forces may have pushed it through because they wanted to do this shit.
It's at least we have to agree that probably we should take lessons should be learned after the whole Taproot implementation, how casually and like non-investigatively that was done, and like how that broad consensus formed. Was it just because all the people we got used to trusting were for it?
I think that plus a fatigue from the Blocksize Wars, so people were not willing to do the work and actually reading up on what this thing actually did. And
as far as I remember, it was also sold almost like an extension of SegWit, and SegWit was like, it became seen as basically the fruits of winning the Blocksize War in some way, because Jihan resisted it so hard and stuff. And Taproot was like always like the last piece we needed to make it so much more powerful.
Yeah.
At least that's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, that's how I remember it being marketed as, well, whilst that might not have been entirely true then.
Maybe. At least it seems to me like Taproot was a huge positive for people who want the JPEGs on Bitcoin.
Yeah, unfortunately. Like, I sometimes wonder where Bitcoin would have been today if Lightning Network was not a thing. So yeah, sure, SegWit was important for other things than just Lightning, especially the malleability thing, transaction malleability bug. So what would have happened if we didn't have a Lightning Network, but if if Bitcoin had just ossified and continued on? Would we have had the spam? Would we have had like similar attacks? We can never know, because we live in the branch of the multiverse that we happen to live in, and that's just true for everyone alive. Like we cannot ever know what it's Bastiat's broken window, or the Bastiat's the thing, the seen and the unseen. We cannot know what the other timeline would have looked like, because we're not in that timeline. We're in the one we're in.
Yeah. No, it's this sliding doors or closing doors thought, like what would happen if you managed to get on that subway instead of the doors closing in front of you, and what would have happened if the Germans won World War II and all that shit. We will never know.
Yeah, and if Jamie Oliver actually learned how to cook at some point. We can never know.
Let's not get into the wildest mental gymnastics.
Yeah. Anyway, so the common questions here, maybe we should like round this out by commenting on this stuff too. So why is this proposal temporary? The 1-year deployment allows the community to evaluate the impact, while that's very fair. I think that's what allows you to have a bit of time before you make your stance on this. Like that, they're giving Hodlonaut time to do his homework here. And me, by the way. So while developers work on a longer-term solution, so it sort of implies that something else will have to follow a longer-term solution with, and I think that's referring to like actually fixing the bugs. What Luke and Mechanic calls bugs anyway, or what Luke calls bugs. I think they are bugs or exploits. Exploits, I think, is a better word. I mean, ordinals and inscriptions and all of these are exploits.
Can I just devil's advocate that?
All right.
It's like it's worded as a like just a positive. It allows the community, and as the community is, as we are seeing right now, extremely polarized.
Yeah.
It allows the community to evaluate the impact. No. So that to me sounds like we're gonna have like an ongoing, very hostile debate going on what is this actually doing, and we will have one side who says, look here, it destroyed Bitcoin as we know it, and the other side will, no, fuck you, it saved Bitcoin, and it's and this is like the thing that I haven't fleshed out in my mind enough, just like how will this year and what happens after there, how will it look in practice? Is it any chance of Bitcoin emerging from this as one solid thing that still retains the trust of the world? I don't know.
Well, I'm optimistic about that.
Yeah.
I think it wouldn't be the case if Bitcoin hadn't had this fight. Like either everyone agrees to this, and then the consensus rules are temporarily tightened, or we have a hard fork, or it's dead in the water. Who knows? Well, I guess we'll see. There's some sort of Pascal's wager to it too, because like the more you believe it will happen, the higher the likelihood that it actually will.
Yeah.
So that's to take into account too. Like, the other sentence here is, I can agree that this language here is kind of, it's presenting this fork as something that allows the community to evaluate the impact. Like it's very self promoting in the language chosen here.
Yeah, I could rewrite it and probably be similarly close to the truth, like something like allows the community to infight and put each other's on the stake and kill each other for a year.
Yeah.
Developers work on a longer term solution.
Yeah. Some restrictions would severely constrain future upgrades if permanent, but are acceptable for a limited time to address the immediate crisis. Yeah, here I can actually be where one of my biggest concerns with BIP-110 is the same as like passports were a temporary measure at one point in time. And now they're standard all over the world. So you need a paper to be allowed to go abroad. That was not always the case. And this is my biggest concern. I think that sometimes temporary things are not as temporary as we think. It's like when you fix something with gaff tape and instead of properly fixing it, you tend to not give a fuck about it afterwards, and the temporary solution becomes the permanent solution.
Yeah. I'll add something that would be pro BIP or like that would make me less concerned about that, and that's that severely constraining future upgrades. Like that just sounds good to me. I don't want to upgrade all the like. What is Bitcoin? Is it something that we shall always like upgrade? I understand maintain and fix bugs and shit, but I don't want Bitcoin to be this innovation place.
No. There is a point where enough is enough, right? That we don't need to. Maintaining is one thing, and fighting off future threats, that's one thing. But that's not upgrading necessarily.
So if upgrading is, quantum resistance, if that is even needed, I don't know. Is that just FUD as well? But that would be valid.
It's both FUD and not FUD at the same time, known as Schrodinger's FUD. Yes, limiting Taproot control blocks could complicate advanced smart contracts like BitVM. I don't think this is a trade-off at all. I think that's a feature, not a bug. Like, I don't want programmable money, because to me, programmable money means programmable people. I don't want fucking scripts like that. I know that Satoshi was for having the script thing in there so that in the future Bitcoin could accommodate smart contracts and stuff, but I don't necessarily like that. I want Bitcoin to be as simple as possible.
Yeah, I agree.
Upgrade hooks are temporarily unavailable for other soft forks. Some wallet software using op-if and tap leaves may need updates. However, these are acceptable short-term trade-offs for immediate benefits. Yeah, might piss off some developers on some projects, and might even fuck with their business models somehow. Yeah, however, I think this is definitely in the fuck around and find out category. Is there any risk of funds being frozen or lost? In theory, yes, but this proposal goes to great pains to avoid affecting those use cases. Funds are completely unaffected if they don't use Taproot in standard ways, or can be spent via KeyPath or other expected tap leaves. Additionally, UTXO created before activations are permanently exempt from the new rules. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it doesn't freeze anything, except if you create that thing now before the whole thing.
Yeah, I would be interested to find out if there are no exceptions to that statement, that basically funds UTXOs cannot be frozen, because I've heard different stories spelled out, and yeah, that should be clarified.
It says UTXOs created before activation are permanently exempt from the new rules. To me, I interpret that as you being able to move those coins after the rules are implemented. Yeah, a separate 2-week grace period between lock-in and activation also provides great general preparation time. Yeah. Won't spammers just spread their data over multiple fields? While it's impossible to fully prevent steganography, limiting data sizes ensures abuses and non-contiguous are and obfuscated. Requiring users to divide files into chunks of 256 bytes raises the costs in fees and effort, sending a clear message that data storage is unwelcome. I think this is the biggest why I'm pro this thing. Because I do want to send that message, and I do want it to become more expensive for them to do that.
I mean, even if my house, theoretically can be broken into by very sophisticated thieves using advanced tooling and equipment, I still prefer that situation to opening my door wide open with a sign and like marketing that thieves can enter here. It's a huge difference to me, and obviously to me, making it more difficult and need more complexity, costly, everything to spam the blockchain or grift on the blockchain. We should do that.
Yeah. Why limit script pub keys to 34 bytes? Script pub keys must be stored indefinitely in quick access memory by all nodes. Modern usage is 34 bytes, is all 34 bytes or smaller, as actual spending conditions are in the witness. Large script pub keys enable data abuse and malicious poison blocks that take a long time to validate. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that, I think. Is there a slippery slope toward banning use cases? No, these rules enshrine long-standing principles of Bitcoin. This soft fork does not restrict monetary activity, only non-monetary data storage. The temporary nature reinforces a targeted intervention, not a new direction. Yeah, I like that point. Even if it said, yes, it is a slippery slope toward banning use cases, I would be pro it, because I don't want use cases. No. I want there to be one single use case.
Yes. Yes.
I don't want smart contracts. Like, it's just a fact.
I want monetary transactions on Bitcoin.
Yeah. And even a thing like time locks, which I think are super cool. I know that if I was to put my Bitcoins in a time lock to time lock them for X number of blocks, then they are more at risk than if I could interact with them during that period. Of course, because I cannot predict the future. That is a fuck around use case. Even though it's a cool use case, it's still a fuck around use case. All right. Does this solve spam completely? No, of course it doesn't. And no one ever claimed it did, by the way. That's what, bad argument.
Yeah, which is also like something I don't like with the rhetoric from this V30 core camp, that look, we could put the whole BIP-110 PDF in the blockchain under BIP-110 rules. Yay! So this is pointless. That's bad faith, in my opinion.
Yeah. The other point I want to make about the smaller, want the spammers just spread their data over multiple fields. This is, I guess the devil's advocate argument there would be that since there are smaller fields, they will bloat the UTXO set more because there will be more transactions and they will have to like spam it up. The point is though that it's costlier. So I do think that that's a bad argument too, even though it could lead to more bloat, but that sort of requires all the spammers to have more money to spend on this. And the risk there, I'd say, is a state-level attack, where a nation state decides to kill Bitcoin, and they have a money printer, so they have infinite money for at least short term before the fiat they're printing dies, so they can just print and spam the chain with or bloat the UTXO set. However, that would require a competent government, which is incompatible with a deep state, really smart government. So I'm unsure there if retardation or 5D chess is the bigger threat.
Yeah.
Does this affect the UTXO set? No, BIP-110 only limits the size of new outputs going forward. It doesn't touch, invalidate, or prune any existing UTXOs. This is important. You may be thinking of the cat. Yes, the cat is the really controversial proposal. And we had a lot of fun trolling people with that by saying meow on X. Just threatening with a cat, which is actually going to these ordinals websites and picking out these transactions and just making them unspendable.
When was that meow meme and cat? When did cat launch?
Yeah, I'm sorry you missed it, because you would have been perfect for it with the helmet on. That was like a couple of months back, I guess. It's an idea by a developer called Claire Ostrom, which is probably some kind of NIM thing, and it proposed to actually go to all these sites that promote selling stamps and ordinals and inscriptions and target it, because all the data is there where this NFT was minted or whatever, where this the address of this rare set. And you would just go there and invalidate all of those, which is, I love the idea as much as I hate the idea, the precedent it sets and so on and so forth. But I kind of love it just to really, really rug the spammers. I love that.
I love the finding out part of it, but I don't love the precedence and like basically the principle of it.
No. And someone would actually have to code the thing first. So I think the cat is probably... that's not the topic of today, definitely not. Does this affect the Lightning Network? No, is the short answer here.
Yeah. I'm sure there will be someone in your comments, depending on how many people watch this, but that will create some type of exotic scenario where it would affect something on the Lightning Network. But I mean... I trust what is said here, that basically the summarized answer is no.
Yeah. Taproot was designed so that why is op if restricted in TapScript? And here's a long explanation, and it's basically to this is long and complicated.
I have seen controversy around this op if thing at least, but my takeaway from what I read is that it's extremely rarely used, if at all, and that there are substitutes for it that can be implemented if BIP-110 were to activate.
Yeah. And as we have said before, BIP-110 is a consensus level change and not a mempool policy change. I think this is where most of the criticism is, like, that this is and should be a policy level thing. How much you allow or not, choose to allow or not allow in your mempool. But I'd say that is, yes, that was a good position to have up until Core V30, which fucked that up. So now that argument does no longer apply, in my view, because they went against the grain there. Is this optional for miners? During the signaling phase, miners can choose whether to signal support. If 55% signal in a retarget period, the soft fork locks in early. If not, mandatory signaling kicks in before the deadline. Blocks that don't signal are rejected, guaranteeing lock-in. Once activated, the new rules are enforced at the consensus level. Any block that violates them is rejected by all enforcing nodes, regardless of the miner's preference. Yeah. Are people willing to die on this hill or not? I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and I hope the debate kind of like continues to illuminate what it really is for me and for everyone who wants to understand that, you know, the sides of it that are still like contentious or understood will be better relayed to laymen or people with less technical, like plebs people like us. And I also hope that, you know, I like to think that our conversation today is kind of like maybe representative for the level of technical understanding of a lot of Bitcoiners, and therefore maybe useful. And maybe it's useful to have more conversations like this from, not necessarily from us, but from people who just like honestly, people, maybe the main target would be people who are worried about what Core is doing, because that's where I'm coming from. I would love to just brush this aside and like, why should we even consider this? I mean, we have a great developer group in Core that we can trust, and things are great, but I don't feel like that. I really feel like Core needs to be tempered.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the question becomes, is this the way of doing that, or shall we bicker and argue until a better way comes up? And this is already gaining some momentum, so I'm very unsure that we'll get a second chance at this. And so the same argument, like, I think this was one of Giacomo's arguments to you, if I'm not mistaken, that it has such low chances of succeeding that we'll have a harder time the next time we try something.
That will burn more social capital for maybe the right reaction.
Yes, but the counter argument would be, well, this is the Batman was not the hero Gotham wanted, but it's the one they got. Like this is the thing that is on the table. There's currently no other thing on the table. So maybe now that this is the thing on the table, then this is the only chance we get, and therefore we should just fucking do it, and then everyone can theorize afterwards. Yeah,
I think doing nothing over a long time period is 100% harmful. That is harm the way I see it. But I also think doing something rather drastic in haste has the potential of being harmful too. It's like, therefore, the conviction level and like confidence in having understood the aspects that are important to, each of us, wherever you stand subjectively, is a prerequisite before you die on the hill, or before you potentially decide to die on a hill. Because this is important for Bitcoin. What is this whole conflict is very important for Bitcoin, and I don't think it's very overstated to say that this is maybe not as important as the Blocksize War, but it does feel like, a moment in time for Bitcoin where, stakes are high and it really matters which side you choose.
Yeah, so before we close this out, like a final question would be, what would it take to convince you to signal support again for BIP-110? What would that take?
It would take for me to reflect more on this and to become more confident in the points I raised against BIP-110. Basically, maybe the biggest thing is, uncertainty about and everything regarding governance, 1 year temporary activation, what happens after, that whole dynamic is big for me, and also to have more clarity on potential for loss of funds for any users.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you wear flip-flops?
I did yesterday, or the day before. I took them off, but
okay.
I mean, I'll just go back to saying maybe two things, that I subscribe to just, being open to learning always, and to be open to change my mind. And it's not like I really to the degree to which I changed my mind was a conviction level. As I think I've become clear in this conversation, I am not like one of the people who attack BIP-110 in any way. I applaud it. I applaud people who want to fight for Bitcoin and who follow principles. I like to follow principles. I do that always. I try to. But I'm very I feel embarrassed for having flip-flopped on my outspoken support. And that means I will have to be damn sure before I come back in support. Okay, so if we ever see you support it again, then that's final. Then I'm on the hill. That's for sure. All right. Yeah. I'll close out with this once again here. We the plebs are the dicks. We're reckless, arrogant, stupid dicks. And the developers are pussies. And the spammers are assholes. Pussies don't like dicks because pussies get fucked by dicks. But dicks also fuck assholes. Assholes who just want to spam on everything. Pussies think that they can deal with assholes in their way by increasing op return. But the only thing that can fuck an asshole is a dick with some balls. Yeah. With that. Strong words, Knut. Strong words.
Pick a side or don't. And remember to brush your teeth. And like, comment, subscribe, share this thing. Call us idiots. Call us wise old bearded men. Or you're not bearded. You have a mustache or an attempt at one. So, and I hope to see you again soon, man. We see each other way too seldom in the flesh, and we have to find an island somewhere where we can hang out with our kids.
Maybe we can do Eurasia.
Yeah, who knows? It's always a pleasure anyway, and I respect you insane. The levels of respect I have for you and the decisions you made in life are insane, and it's always good to talk to you and bounce these things back and forth. I'm going to continue my support for BIP-110 now, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, I respect you a lot, Knut. Thanks for having these conversations with me, both, on this podcast and on the phone before, and, thanks for being my friend, and I hope to talk to you soon.
With that, this has been the Bitcoin Infinity Show. Cheerio, folks.
Thank you. Bye.